Beauteous. All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. We're back. Jen and I are so excited to chat with you today. A few days ago, we went live to share a little bit more about what we are inviting you into, and we wanted to gather today. And if you're here live with us, drop a comment below. Let us know you're watching. Um, but we wanted to start a conversation around basically how we are constantly inundating ourselves with everything. We were just talking before we popped on live about how it's like for some of us, we're told constantly to, if we're on a walk in nature, go put headphones in, listen to a podcast, listen to music, have your phone with you. And I've seen so many people, like even like families on walks together, like pushing their babies in strollers where they just have their phone in their hand, like not paying attention to their surroundings. And it's like we're so glued to our phones. And then we wonder why we're stressed out, why we're overwhelmed, why we're burnt out, and why we feel so disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from the world around us, and aren't having fulfillment. So, we're going to be sharing with you some of the tools that we've incorporated into our lives that really help us to slow down, be present, and become more self-aware. So, I want to just pass this over to Jen, where she can share a little bit more about her experience with spending time in silence and how a retreat that she went to at a silent retreat really opened her up.
Mm, thank you, Tori.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was always kind of this like driven career person, like for 20 years. Like that was my experience. And I think it came from like my parents were both very hard workers. I never wanted for anything, but we weren't like wealthy people. So my parents, like my dad worked 12 hours a day most days. And so that's kind of where I came from. And then I think when I went through coach training, we had to identify our gremlin, and like it was a really powerful exercise. But like kind of what I uncovered about myself is like this feeling that like my brain is dysfunctional because
Mm,
I've always kind of felt like I've had to fit in this box where I don't necessarily fit. And when like a lot of times, and this is a bit of a local reference, so if you live in our area, you'll get this. But like when I sometimes I go to therapy, and like my brain is like Kelly Square, like I can't.
before they fixed it or after? Because it's still
It doesn't matter. It still sucks. I still hate driving through it. But yeah, let's say before they fixed it. Um,
uh,
and so like I think as I progressed in my career, it was kind of when technology started becoming more and more present in our lives.
mm,
So I graduated from college in 2000, and I actually had a really hard time finding a job. I got my first job through one of the regulars at the bar I worked at. So it's another thing that's important to me is like always building relationships with people. But at that time, like you maybe got a handful of emails a day. I did have to go check the fax machine every so often. So I'm really dating myself here. But like, it wasn't this constant influx of like shit coming at you.
mhm,
And then we kind of got, we got more tools. We got instant messaging. We got, that's, kind of like later in the 2000s, social media started to become a thing. And there became this fascination with it where we were just constantly being pinged with these notifications.
mhm,
And I just found myself more and more overwhelmed and less functional because I was expected to keep up with these things. And last time we talked, Tori, I talked about my mindfulness training. And one of the requirements for that was to go on a 7-day silent meditation retreat. Now, part of me, this was like kind of at the height of, the intensity of my career. I was working for LinkedIn. Big tech companies, like there's a lot, everything you've read about Silicon Valley and the perks and all those things, like that's all true, but there's also a lot of intensity to it. Like you almost just can't shut down. And So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on this silent retreat and I'm just going to meditate all day and I'm going to be blissful. Oh my God, it was so fucking hard. You can't read, you can't write. It's just you are with yourself in silence. So imagine like Kelly Square with no output. Like you just can't get out of Kelly Square. And a couple days in, um, you meet with in a group with one of the teachers and they want to check in on you because people do have like mental breakdowns during these things.
Mm,
And the rule is like you check in with the teacher, but you can't talk to the other participants. And when it got to be my turn to talk, I just like I mean, I've never been one to cry in front of people. I'm like this strong, like I'll hold space for you, but I don't deserve to have space held for me. You know, I'm kind of like one of those people. And I just lost it. I couldn't stop crying. I could barely like get words out. And so the teacher suggested that we meet privately. And to be witnessed in that way, especially by a man, and to not hear things like, stop crying, it's gonna be okay. Like in that moment, even though this is not, it wasn't really technically insight dialogue, this idea of mindful communication
mm,
where we can slow down, where we can express ourselves, where we can be witnessed without like when I feel when I'm grieving, and even like I just lost a dear friend whose service I'm going to tomorrow. I don't want someone to make me feel better. I just want to be seen.
yeah.
And that's where these practices have been so transformational in my life and in the way I communicate with others because like there's hugs and touch can feel really good, but a lot of times when someone's upset or mad or whatever, sad, we just want to fix it and make them feel better, and
Yeah.
that's not always effective. Like sometimes just sitting there and witnessing the person is the most beautiful thing you can do.
Mm,
um and I'd love to ask you, Tori. I know, like, I honestly, I don't know how you do all the things you do, but you do so many amazing things. And I know last year, when I went to your party, you had started to talk about this shift in your business and talk about wanting to offer more of these mocktail events. And I would love to hear more about like what drove you to making that choice and how that can really benefit people.
absolutely. And the party she's referring to is like my rebranding party that I did in person, where I offered mocktails and had like this whole beautiful day on my birthday, where I was celebrating this new rebirth of myself. A lot of you, if you've been in my world for years, you know that I used to own a studio and shop and a yoga studio specifically, and I did a bunch of healing sessions, and I still do these things just now out of my home, but minus the shop. We don't do that. We just do online stuff and vending events. But nonetheless, I similarly to Jen, like I had a burnout moment where I was just going, running this place, and I was just like, I'm so tired. Everyone wanted access to me, which I wanted to provide something so beautiful for the community. And it was just a lot because everyone always wanted more from me, and to the point where it made me go into full burnout. And so I decided to close down my shop and studio, and I went through this whole rebirthing process. And this rebirthing process, and when I say that, like I was dying to old parts of myself, people pleasing parts of myself, and just like all these things where I was like, I have to do more, like they need more help. And, some people don't have the funds, so I'm just going to help more. And it's just, it literally burnt me at both ends to the point of I couldn't take care of myself. And what happened in this rebirthing process where I closed things down and I kind of like, I call it hobbiting, where I was like, I just need to spend time with me. I like fun names for things. Like, so I was like, the gremlin. Oh my God, love that. Um, I went through this process of really deeply returning to my roots, and one of my first roots, like Reiki was technically the first thing I got certified in, but in tandem with that, I was studying herbalism. And I returned to that practice much more deeply, much more intimately. And I was having a lot of conversations with people about how they wanted to get into better health, but then it was hard to find community because, like, the only way that they knew how to meet people was like to go out and drink and have like these socialization things that wasn't actually serving them and didn't feel good. And they were struggling to find connections with people that also wanted to grow and wanted better for themselves, especially in these kinds of settings and scenarios. And so, as I was going through this rebirthing process, I was like, how can I really help people in a way that is going to be deeply nourishing and simultaneously help them come together with people that like they want to be around. And so a part of the rebranding of my business from Little Lotus Trading Co. to the Forbidden Fruit, which more coming on that soon. I'm going to be making a bigger announcement. We're going to do an online party because the website's almost done. Um, with that, I started to craft these mocktail parties and wanted to create a space. And I like make a joke that it's kind of like a Tupperware party, but like for like fun and for our health and wellness. Where, I go and I make mocktails and I go to your home or wherever you want to host a party and I share these mocktails with you. I educate you about plant medicines and I also will talk to every person there individually and share recommendations on what it is that can support them in their health. Because really, most of society right now is like, I want to slow down. My mind's too busy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed out. What I'm doing isn't working. And me drinking wine or drinking beer, or having a couple of cocktails at night isn't supporting me. So, how can I shift that? And so that's where I came up with this idea, actually, with the help of Jesse, one of our teachers, how we met. And started to go and serve these things to people because not only are they freaking delicious, but they're also so helpful for our overall bodies, whether it's adaptogenic herbs that help our bodies adapt to the level of stress that we're dealing with so we don't feel as stressed out, helping our hormones rebalance, helping our bodies just come back into harmony, back into balance in so many different ways, have more energy, feel more vibrant. It's so layered, but ultimately, to bring people back into health and have a space where we can connect with people that also want to do things, but that are good for us and do it in a lighthearted and fun way where it's not like we're like trudging through the healing process, trying to figure out what to do. So, that's
Mm,
where that came from.
mm,
And it's been a really, really beautiful journey to share these medicines with people. And I know that it will be blossoming continuously. But I really think that plant medicines, these gentle herbal allies, have so many gifts. They brought me back from what felt like the dead. And I've
mm.
helped so many other entrepreneurs and just people in general, because we're all on freaking hamster wheels lately. We live in Massachusetts, it's the most expensive state. Like, realistically, like it's pretty crazy right now. And what we need is to slow our minds down, to slow down, take some time to get the heavy things off of our chest and be able to be real with people that also want to be real. And so that's why we've put together this really special invitation to join us um, inside of our class that's happening on September 29th from 2 to 5 p.m. Mocktails and dialogue. And before I go into more details about that, Jen, I would really love to ask you to share a little bit more about insight dialogue. So maybe it's less scary for people. Because I know that sometimes we're like, oh shit, like we're just going to be like talking to maybe a stranger. Like, how can this be supportive? And if you want, I'm happy to share on how it's helped me actually to talk to strangers about some of the deepest things that reside in my heart too. But I would
Yeah.
love to hear you share a little bit more about Insight Dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll say this. It's really a practice where you can come as you are.
Mm,
Uh, last night I went to a networking event, and yeah, I as a business owner, as a relatively new business owner, I'm really trying to get myself out there. And I actually really enjoy meeting new people and talking to interesting people. But as we talked about last time, I'm also extremely awkward. And sometimes, I'll walk into one of these things and it's really intimidating. And at one point, I found this T-shirt on Etsy that just says awkward. And a lot of times, if it's a bigger event, I will wear that T-shirt just to own it. So
Yeah.
my point in sharing that is like sometimes we go to these things because we think we have to or we think we should, and
Mm,
like it's not our people, but we may be in a career or a profession where it feels like you have to be there, and it just feels kind of gross and uncomfortable.
mm,
um what I really dream of is like a world where we can just come together in community. Like we have all, to our point earlier, we have all this technology that connects us in various ways,
mm.
yet we've never been so lonely.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just feels so important to me to come back to a world where like we can sit around the campfire and talk,
Yeah.
or we can engage in dialogue in a way that really doesn't feel superficial. Like if you've had that feeling at like a networking event, it's like, you stand there and you're eating whatever fucking cheese and sausage and like trying to balance your glass of wine, and like you've worked all day so you're starving, you just want to like shove it all in your mouth, but then you'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" Like it's just like it's so gross sometimes, right? And like I, I think to be able to come together in Tori space, which is beautiful, and be with other women from all backgrounds, from all ages, from all different reasons or motivations to be there,
Mm,
and to be able to speak in a way where like you don't have to prepare your pitch, you don't have to like have anything planned,
yeah.
right? That's one of the guidelines of insight dialogue that I love so much, is trust emergence,
Mm,
because you have no idea what you're going to say, what the other person is going to say. And so if you can trust emergence rather than like, this is my script. Like years ago, I had this telemarketing job, and it's like, read the script, stick to the script. I used to like call my own answering machine, and like because I hated it so much. It's just like, I know I'm an asshole. But
we're all
it's
masters here. It's
but it's a place where you can just be in
fine.
community. And I just feel like we don't always have enough of that in this crazy intense world that
Mm,
we're living in. Like when Tori and I go on these retreats with our teacher Jesse, like we're together, like some of the local ones, it's just a weekend like somewhere in Vermont or upstate New York, in like some beautiful secluded setting, and like I don't think I even look at my phone.
yeah.
I'll have it like I let my husband will send me a dog picture, which like, I need to see pictures of my dog or videos of him snoring, but like I don't even look at my phone. Like I just want to be in community with people, and I want that for more people, and to be able to do it with mocktails, with dialogue.
Mm,
I'm so excited.
yes. Yeah, like this not needing to be curated, not needing to wear a mask and like let's be real, like I honestly don't know how to do small talk. Like I don't know if it's just my brain or what, but like I've realized when people try to small talk with me, that's where like my T-Rex arms come out and I'm like, I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't really care to like talk about these things that like everyone seems to just like half-ass kind of bring up. Like I want to go deep. I want to be present with you. I want to see your heart. I want to know what's in there. Like what feels shameful for you? How can we really peel back those layers and hold space for you in a way that's just gonna let those things crumble down so that you can see them as stories and see them as things that we've been taught, we've been told, that have been put on us as we should act this way, we should be this way. And instead of having curated responses, just speaking from our hearts. And this is a big part of what we do in ceremony as well. So I think, like, when I lead ceremony, so I think it's so beautiful that it's just this beautiful blending of these different modalities. And it's so important to spend time with ourselves and with our minds, because I think, and you might have heard this as well, because I know you lead guided meditations and all of these beautiful things, is like, how many times have you had someone come to you and be like, I can't meditate, it just doesn't work for
Oh,
me?
all the time, all
All
the
the
time.
time, right? And it's like, the truth of the matter is I absolutely understand that we can't just, like, it's not like a switch we have in our brain where we're like off, silent, meditate. Like, no, right? But if we really dedicate ourselves to a meditation practice or some kind of practice where we come into self awareness, that's why it's called a practice. We're not going to be perfect at it at first. We're training the muscle that is our brain so that we are no longer servants to our minds, and we can learn how to master our minds so that we can actually build the life that we want and not fall into all these like habits and patterns that haven't been serving us, right? So I really think that it's so helpful for us to have spaces where we can kind of like word vomit the things that are on our minds, to just get it out and not have someone try to like fix the situation for us, but just hold space for us and be present with whatever's in there, and know that there's literally like nothing is TMI in our spaces.
Mm,
The way that
mhm.
Jen and I run things, like, we will talk about things. Like, one thing that we always talk about is like, okay, like, how tight is your butthole? Like, how hard are you
Yeah.
clenching? Like, release, like, relax your body, right? If you're clenching your butthole right now, relax it, like, just soften. But it's like, really, we talk about so many things in our spaces. And so if you need a space to come decompress what's been in your mind, what's been on your heart, what you feel has been holding you back because there's shoulds or whatever it is that you feel are imposed upon you, we really invite you to come and sit with us and take a little 3 hour journey with us. There might be some chatting after because we're just like that. Like we said, we value relationships and connecting, but come journey with us and work with plant medicine, very gentle herbal allies, and see how they can support your mind and your heart, and how insight dialogue can tie into that to support you in peeling back these layers of shame or guilt that you might have for choices you've made, or the ways that you look at your body, or how people have told you you need to show up and you're different and you're not in that box and you want to just be in your own box, or free yourself completely from the box, whatever way you want to say it, so that we can really come into coming home into ourselves.
Mhm.
So, we're offering mocktails and dialogue, debunking shame on September 29th, 2 to 5 p.m. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have about this. The investment for it is only $75. That covers everything that's included inside. And it's going to be a space for only 16 women. That's all we have space for. And if this is something you all want to do more of, we're more than happy to curate that. But is there anything else you feel called to share, Jen?
I think just two things, like,
Yeah.
in addition to sharing as much as or as little as you like during the practice,
Yeah.
you're also welcome to be silent.
Mm,
Like, we feel like we always need to be talking. And I mean, this is like my culture. This is how I was raised, like, in my family and in a corporate setting, right? You feel like you always have to be talking.
mm,
And sometimes in the practice, there's just a lot of silence. And I love when we can be with someone in silence and it's comfortable. It's not uncomfortable. And to Tori's point, like, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I have to admit, like I get to DMs eventually, but sometimes it could take me like a week or two because I don't have notifications turned on anymore. Like I check Facebook and Instagram and all these things like on my terms
Yeah.
and not because my phone is telling me to. So be
Yep.
patient with me. Be patient with because Tori does a lot of amazing things. Like be patient with us. But if you have questions, concerns, like whatever, we're very user friendly. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't bite, I
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah.
But we would really love to see you. This is a women's only event for this round because that's what we know, right? We are women walking these paths of debunking shame ourselves. So feel free to comment below or reach out to us. You can message me, you can message Jen, and just have a conversation with us. Or if you're like, I know I want to be there, we can send you the link to save your space. You do have to pre-register. It's not something you can just show up the day of. We need to know how, or I need to know how many mocktails I need to make up. But with that being said, we're here for you. We love you and we bless your lives and really hope to be able to spend this time with you. Have a beautiful
Mwah.
rest of your day, loves. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Yay! All right.